Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf, Nedarim Daf Mem Dalet. We are holding on Mem Gimel and Beis at the third line from the bottom, Tanya. So, how does Hefker work? The concept of Hefker is learned perhaps from Shemitah, or perhaps from other places. But how does it work? How can you render something ownerless, which allows anybody to come take it? We had a machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and the Rabbanon in yesterday's daf, and according to one approach, actually Rabbi Yochanan's approach, which the Gemara will follow today. Indeed, there is a fundamental difference in approaches and how to understand the Hefker process. Rabbanon say it's a simple abandonment, relinquishing of one's ownership, a detachment, a disengagement. It's totally out of my hands, which allows anybody to take it. But the process is done and over with as soon as I make it Hefker. It's out of my domain, it's no longer mine. It's placed in sort of a no man's land, which allows anybody to come take it. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. According to him, it involves a two-phase procedure. Because actually, Hefker is like a transition, like a transfer from me to you. When I declare the item which I own as Hefker, you know what I'm doing? In effect, I'm just allowing somebody to come take it. But the process has not really been fully completed, not been confirmed until the other person actually takes it, in which case it's as though I gave it to him. I'm allowing you to take from me. It's like a gift, it's like a matana. So it's only confirmed. The process is only completed and culminated when the recipient actually takes possession of that item. That's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbanan disagrees. It's just an abandonment, a complete relinquishing of rights. I disengage, and Mamela, you can take it. I don't need you to come take it for that process to be fulfilled. Hefker is making this thing ownerless, period. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's only through the Zoiche, it's only when the fellow actually comes and receives it and takes it, that the process has come to its completion. Tanya, we have a brisa. Hamafkiris Sodeu. A landowner makes his Soda Hefker. And we know that Hefker produce is potter from giving Truma, from giving Maser, etc. It's learned perhaps from the fact that Shemitah, which is Hefker, is also potter from Truma and Maser. In any case, a fellow makes his Soda Hefker and then retakes his field, reacquires it. What happens to the produce within? Is it potter from Maser because it was Hefker, or he's just playing games? It doesn't work. The halacha is kol shloisha yamim. If it's within the first 3 days, yochel lachzer, by the owner can just go back on what he did. Meaning, when he reacquires that field, it's as though nothing happened, because we know there are people that are called Ra'moin, which the Gemara later will discuss. Dishonest people, tricksters. They're trying just to get out of the Truma and Maser obligation. And therefore, when they do Hefker, it's not a genuine, sincere relinquishing of ownership. It's just to cut corners. It's just a loophole to get out of the Maser. And typically, these people just reacquire their fields right away, within a day or two. So if it's within 3 days, it's pretty clear and apparent that it's just a farce. It's just a ploy. It's just a ruse. And therefore, Yochalach Saboy, when he takes it back, it's a chazor. He's going back on the Hefker. It's as though nothing happened. He's chayv and maser. Mikan ve'elach, but past 3 days, which is not your typical time frame for a Ramite to just leave his field, open and unattended. Ein Yochalach Saboy. If he retakes it at that point, post 3 days, it's not a reacquisition. it's as though he's taking it from actual hefker, and it's really pata from mas. Okay, so that's the part A of the brisa. It's time dependent. Within 3 days, it's as though nothing happened. But after 3 days, the hefker took hold, it took effect. Here comes part B. Omar, he declared as follows. I'm not making an open-ended hefker, rather a limited time hefker. It should be hefker for 1 day. Within a day you take it, it's yours, but after a day it's over. For a week. Anybody takes it within the week, keeps it forever, but if you wait till the week's over, offer is gone. For the month, for the year, for the 7-year cycle of years. So it's a limited hefker offer. In this case, he doesn't look like he's being a ramai. Why would he be a ramai? Why would a dishonest fellow just trying to get out of the truma do it in this way? It seems like he's really doing it, legitimately. He has something up his sleeve. It's a real hefker. So now, the hefker is not really completed. And if either the owner or somebody else has not yet gone ahead and been zoich in that field, taken it for themselves, the hefker process has not yet been carried through. The transmission has not yet been completed, and therefore the owner could just go back on his word and retake it, as though it was never hefker. But once somebody acquires that hefker, whether he or somebody else, but he can no longer go back on his word. Why? Because the hefker process has culminated by way of the recipient acquiring the field. And the Chiddush says, even he himself, if he acquires his field, which he made hefker, it's as though he acquired it from hefker. He specified, I'm being zoicha from hefker. So he's not trying to go back on his word. He's not making a chazorah. He's not backtracking. He's not backpedaling. He's just completing phase 2 of the hefker process. He left it. Now he's being zoicha from the hefker. But the problem is, we seem to have a contradiction in the way hefker works. From the first part of the brisa, the reisha, which told us that hefker is based on time. It's a time-related issue. Within 3 days, it's not a completed process, but after 3 days, the process of hefker is completed, irrespective of whether or not somebody acquired that field. Apparently, hefker is a simple abandonment. You don't need a zoich on the other side to complete the process. But the Seifa, the one that we just learned, clearly indicates otherwise. Hefker is only carried through and there's a zoich on the other side who completes the process. So Reisha Rabbanon v'Sefer Rabbi Yehuda. Does this make sense? Part A is the Rabbanon, and part B is Rabbi Yehuda. A bit hard to believe. Amar Ula, I'll explain to you the brisa in its entirety. Seifa Nami Rabbanoni. The whole brisa is indeed following Shitas Rabbanon, that typically your classic hefker does not need a zoich on the other side to complete the process. Hefker by definition is abandonment. Giving up, cutting all ties to that item. If so, how do we understand the Seifa? Which seems to tell us that the hefker process is a transmission, it's a transfer of property from me to you. And until you take it, the hefker has not yet happened. Why? Why is my hefker dependent upon you taking it? Answers the Gemara. Because in the Seifa, we speak about a very unusual type of hefker. It's not a straight out abandonment, like in the Reisha. Shani, Shav, Shavua. This case is very unique. It's hefker for a day, for a year, it's pretty unusual. It's not your common hefker, which seems to perhaps send us the message that you're not really trying to get rid of this field. There's some strange reason why he's making it, hefker for a day, for a year, for a month. In which case, he's still trying to hold on to it, and perhaps in his mind he really doesn't want to give it up all the way, and he's saying, look, I'm making it hefker only if somebody takes it, then I have no choice, but otherwise I want it back. So in this case, which is unique and unusual, even the Chachamim would agree to Rabbi Yessi's concept. The hefker process has not been completed until there's a recipient who acquires that property on the other side of the road. So that's Ula's approach. It's all the Rabbanon speaking. Typically, hefker is abandonment, except for this case. Reish Lakish Amar, he has another approach. No, it's Rabbi Yossi speaking all throughout the Brisa. With the Sefer Rabbi Yossi, Reish Nabi Rabbi Yossi, the fact that the second part of the Brisa, which indicates that he's Zoicha, the recipient is the one who completes the process of hefker. And that's in line with Rabbi Yossi. Apparently the Reisha is also Rabbi Yossi. Question is, if it's Rabbi Yossi speaking, so why does the Brisa say when a person makes his sada hefker, within 3 days he can go back on his word, but after 3 days, it's too late, you can't renege, you can't backpedal. Why? Nobody has yet taken up this item. There was no Zaycha. The hefker is still mid-air, still pending. It's just a potential hefker. Why can't I just cancel it? The answer is like this. There's a gzeira, midrabanan. V'reisha hanitaima. You know why in the Reisha you can't go back on your word once 3 days pass? The loylish takach teras hefker. Listen to this. It might generate confusion and pitfalls in terms of halachic ramifications. Why? We know that something which is hefker needs not to be gemeiser, right? There's no meiser and truma from hefker. A gift that you accept, that you get, is like anything else. If the produce is, freshly grown produce, which is tevel, you have to address the truma and master obligations. Correct? Now this fellow made hefker. It's 5 days later. Another fellow goes and acquires the field. Now, how does he treat that field that he got from hefker? So he's thinking like this. This is what he's thinking. Erroneously, but this is what he's thinking. Well, the former owner can still go back on his word. He can still be chayzer, correct? Right? As part of Yesi's shita. Until I get it, he can take it back. So the fact that he has the ability to go back, to cancel his hefker, to me indicates ownership, control, possession. Right? The very fact that he can retake it indicates ownership. And therefore, when I go and I take it, I'm thinking like this. It's not really hefker. It's like I got a gift from him. That's the perception that's generated by the allowance for chazor. The fact that the owner who made it hefker can go back on his word, can retake it, can reacquire, indicates perhaps ownership, that he's still holding on to it. And therefore, even when I go and I take it rightfully from hefker, I'm going to have that misconception. I'm going to misunderstand what's going on. I'm going to perceive it as though I got a gift from that owner, in which case a gift is not hefker and it's tevel. I'm going to treat it as tevel. That can create confusion. What's the solution? You can no longer go back on your commitment. The owner who made it hefker cannot be chayzer. And that will drive home the point that it's really hefker. When I acquire it, I took it from hefker. There's no chiyuv of truma maser. So again, although strictly halachically speaking, until somebody takes it, the owner can be chayzer. But we don't allow it. To avoid this misconception, because the allowance of chazorah indicates ownership, which can create a misconception that the recipient who is acquiring that hefker is taking it as a gift, which makes it chayiv and tevel. We don't want that perception. Don't be chayzer, it's hefker, and then when somebody takes it, they'll understand that he's taking from hefker. Very good, says the Gemara. If that's your concern, that explains that aspect of the ratio. After 3 days, don't be chayzer. But if that's the case, what happens until 3 days? The same concern applies. You're allowing him to be chayzer. Same problem. Chazara indicates ownership, which sends a message to the to the Zoicha from Hefker, that he's just getting a gift from the owner, it's really Tevel. Why are you allowing the owner to go back? To be Chayzer, to cancel the Hefker within 3 days? Why are you saying that if he takes it back within 3 days, it's cancelled? It shouldn't be so. In order to avoid any misconceptions. Amarabba, mipnei haram moin. The reason is because we're afraid about these dishonest people. Dimafkirin. They never really wanted to make it Hefker. The whole point of Hefker, their whole agenda was to render it Hefker, vahadrin boin, and then they just go and retake it. With the point being to make it Hefker and pata from Maser. To circumvent, to preempt these Ramoin, we say, guess what? If you take it back within a short time, it never happened. So apparently this concern is greater than the concern about the recipient misunderstanding the process. And typically this, Ramai process is a short-lived process, within a day or 2 or 3. So if it's a short-lived Hefker, we assume this whole thing was just a ruse, and we disallow it. Okay. But past 3 days, that's not your typical Ramai scenario. And there we say, you cannot go back on your word. And the point again is that really you could go back on your word until somebody takes it. But we don't want you to go back on your word, because allowing Chazorah indicates perhaps ownership to the future Zoicha, who will misunderstand that as though he's getting a gift from the owner. So really, Minat Torah, it's not Hefker. Right? If the owner goes back on his word, it's not Hefker. We don't allow him to go back on his word. This way, it's perceived as a real Hefker. Right? If he does not go back on his word and the person takes it, he'll understand that he's taken from Hefker, and he will not treat it as Tevel. Right? So again, after 3 days, if there was no Chazorah, and the person is Zoicha, he's Zoicha from Hefker, and he treats it as such. Suppose the owner was Chayzer. Minat Torah, he can be Chayzer, as long as somebody else did not yet take it. We don't want Chazorah, because allowing Chazorah would be an indication of ownership, which would mess up the whole process. The Zoicha would falsely perceive that he's getting a gift and will treat it as Tevel. We don't want that to happen. So we say no more Chazorah. Now, let's go to step 2. Suppose there was Chazorah. It's after 3 days. And the owner changed his mind. What happens now? Change his mind. So really, he retakes it. But now somebody went and took it. Chachamim allow it, right? They say no going back, no backsies. You can take it. So Minat Torah, what status does this field have? Let's forget about monetary issues. The Rabbanan can sort of make it hefker and it can take it away from the owner in order to shore up to secure the Dinei Torah. But in terms of Truma and Maser, what is the Sadr really? Again, the owner changed his mind. 3 days later, he changed his mind. Does he have the ability to do so before somebody takes it? Yes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the hefker is not completed until somebody took it. Nobody took it yet. I went back on my word. I changed my mind. I want it back. And then somebody takes it. What status does this field have? It's not hefker. That's a kasha. Avodah Raisa lo yabe hefker. So when I tell you it's not really hefker. And it's chayiv and truma and maser. It's really tevel. Now, this fellow will not realize that it's really tevel min haTorah. He'll say, well, the reason why the chachamim require me to separate the truma and maser, it's only a din d'Rabbanan because it appears like it's not really hefker because the person was chayzer and it looks like it was his. It's only d'Rabbanan to cover the appearance of tevel. But he's thinking that it's not really a tevel. But in reality, it is tevel. And that's a real concern. Because if he's not realizing that it's tevel, he considers it non-tevel. He considers it really hefker, which is pata from Truma and Maser. And he's only doing the Truma and Maser as a gesture. Then the Rabbanan. You know what can happen? He might find some produce that grew in a closed flower pot, atzitz she'ein nakav, which is really not tevel, because it has to nurture from the ground. Well, this is only chiyuv in the Rabbanon. He'll say, well, what I have here, the hefker here, is only chayv in the Rabbanon, and that thing is chayv in the Rabbanon. I'm going to match them up and take maser from one on the other. That's a big problem, because in reality, what he has here is tevel min ha-Torah. He might take maser from this item that he has here, which is really tevel min ha-Torah. Unbeknownst to him is tevel min ha-Torah, which is chiyuv, and use the maser al aptur to exempt something which is only chayv in the Rabbanon, which is patur min ha-Torah. That's a problem. Or the other way around, he might take maser from the flower pot onto this. Umin ha-patur al chiyuv. That's a concern. How do we get around this? Answer is we tell him what to do. We give him exact instructions. Kima asris. When in fact you take maser off the field that you have here, aser minei ubei. Take off maser from itself on itself. Don't mix up with other things. This way we're clear. We're assured that he'll do it properly. Okay, so in summation, we had a brisa with two parts. Part A discussed a 3-day deadline for chazora from hefker. Part B discussed the fact that you can be chayzer until somebody takes it, which completes the hefker process. We seem to have a contradiction. How to understand the process of hefker? We had two approaches. Ula learned that the whole brisa is the Rabbanon. Hefker does not need a recipient on the other end to be a proper hefker. Hefker is an abandonment. But in the case of the Sefer, we made a weird, unusual type of hefker. There we assume it's not completed until somebody takes it. Rish Lakish says, the brisa is Rabbi Yossi speaking, that hefker is just a potential situation. It's a pending situation, awaiting zechia, which completes the hefker process. That explains the Sefer. The Reisha, where we say, you can't be chayzer after 3 days, even though nobody took it yet, is a din de Rabbanon. Meisvei, here comes another kash. The brisa says, Hamafker is karmai. A fellow makes his vineyard hefker. Ula shachar, the very next morning, has a change of heart. Hamad u batzrei. He gets up and he starts picking his grapes. Chayav a parrot ubaylolis ubeshikra ubepeah. So although it's hefker, and the Ran points out that this fellow just got up and started picking his grapes without saying, without specifying, I am trying to reacquire the hefker field. Therefore the Ran says if it's just bestama, it's unexpressed, undefined, we don't assume he's trying to reacquire, repossess his field, be zoiche from hefker. Rather, he's just going back. He's having a change of heart. So what happens? So when it comes to certain matonos aniyim, like parrot, and those are the loose grapes that fell down during harvesting, ba'ilulis, those grapes which grew in an unusual manner, ubeshikha, grapes which were forgotten, ubepeah, a corner set aside for the aniyim. So all these concepts apply even to hefker. Why? The Ran brings a Gemara Bava Kama. Typically, these ideas don't apply to hefker. But we have a special pasuk, extra word tazoiv, abandon, let go, which addresses this case where the owner reacquired his field. So he's chayiv and all these things, but there's one exception. Of pater min ha-maser. Maser, there's no chayiv. Because there's no extra pasuk, and since it came from hefker, it's pater. That's the price. Now, bishleim ula. So we had Ula, who explained the previous brisa in accordance with Shitas Rabbanon. Who say that hefker is an abandonment, it's a disengagement. Right? So according to him, why do we say that if you take back the field within 3 days, right? it's back yours. It's as though it wasn't hefker. Why? Because of the Ramoin. There's a special takana. Chachamim invalidated the hefker process here, because we're concerned that it's just a ruse, just a ploy to exempt yourself from maser, right? Minat Torah, it's hefker. The second you make it hefker, it's over. It's no longer yours. Without even somebody getting it on the other side, without a zoicha, hefker is a disengagement. So the unilateral process, sending out the thing, it's over. So Bishlam Elul, according to Ula's approach in the previous brisa, here as well, Rabbanon Ketanilo, perhaps this brisa over here, a fellow making his field hefker and getting back the next morning and harvesting is Shitas Rabbanon. So even though he came back the next morning to take it back, he's taking from hefker. The Rabbanon Ketanilo, it's Shitas Rabbanon reflected in this brisa, or the Raisa Ketanilo. And this brisa is simply stating, the basic din Torah. When you make your kerem hefker, it's hefker. That's it. Even before anybody is zoich. And therefore, if you wake up the next morning and start harvesting, you are being zoich from hefker. And therefore, it's pater from maser. True, with the Rabbanon, it's not pater from maser because of the Ramoin, but here we're speaking strictly minat Torah. Minat Torah works. So Ula is good. El the Rish Lakish. According to Rish Lakish's approach in the previous price, that it was Rabbi Yesi speaking. The Gemara is assuming this price is also Rabbi Yesi. Rabbi Yesi holds the hefker process is a two-phase, a two-pronged system. I let go and you take, and that completes the process. Well, here nobody took it. He himself got up and retook his own field. I might pater min hamasa. So why is he pater from maser if he just retook his hefker? Nobody else was zeicha. It just went right back to where it came from. And again, the Ran specifies that here, he didn't say he's being zeicha from hefker. He just ran back into his vineyard and starts picking, doesn't let anybody in. Asserts his rights, asserts his ownership rights. That's a reacquisition. That's not a zchiyah from hefker. So ultimately, the hefker process never got a chance to follow through. So the question is, am I pater min hamasa? Why is there pater from maser? Amalach. So Rish Lakish says, you know what? Ki amri anol Rabbi Yesi. When I spoke before, it was Rabbi Yesi's sheet. Harabbanon. This price is sheet is Rabbanon. Hefker is a one-step system. You let go, it's abandoned. It's hefker. It's pater from maser. When I come back the next morning and take it, I'm zeicha from maser, from hefker. And therefore it's pater from maser. And of course, according to the chumrah de Rabbanan, it wouldn't work because the Ramoin, again, was speaking strictly minat Torah. It was hefker. I took it from hefker. Therefore, it's pater from maser. Okay, so just a quick short summary. We have shitas Rabbanan in hefker. It's an abandonment. Shitas Rabbi Yesi in hefker. It's a two-phase process. I abandon and you take. And that completes the process. We learned that, according to all shitas, if it's within 3 days of making the field hefker, that chazara is really worthless, meaning it's just a revelation that he never meant it seriously, and therefore we don't treat it as hefker, and it's not pater from maser. On the other hand, we learned that if he makes it like a limited time hefker, just for a day, a week, a month, that indicates that he's not really serious about it's a legitimate, he means it for real. It's not a ruse, but he's still trying to hold on to the field. And, if somebody takes it, fine, but otherwise I want it back. So according to all shitas, the hefker is not complete until somebody takes it. We had two ways to explain the brisa. And we had another brisa. A fellow reacquires his vineyard the next morning. It's considered pater from maser because it was hefker. And apparently this is following Shitas Rabbanon, that as soon as he commits it to hefker, it is hefker, irrespective of somebody taking it on the other side, and therefore it's pater from maser. And even if the owner reacquires that kerem the very next morning, minat Torah, it's pater from Maser, of course, midrabanan. We don't buy it because of the Ramoyan. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.